And I guess since I know you've helped probably a lot of people with certain businesses or, from between small and I think, I believe you mentioned medium businesses.
Medium term. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess for people who are listening, because a lot of people who are listening, they're either just starting to become, their own business owner, or they're been around for a while, but they're never really kind of kicked off to kind of take it to the next level. What do you suggest for people? Like, I guess, what advice would you give for some people who are in that zone of like, okay, what do I do next? What's the next step? Or what should I do with my business? Because a lot of people who are here are just starting a business or, trying to get to know what to do. So here
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are.
No, Josh, I mean that's such a great question. And I want to speak directly to those people first and foremost and applaud them because the fact that you have started, that's one of the biggest hurdles. One of the biggest hurdles to doing anything of value is actually starting.
Hmm.
But then once you start, I have a quote I wrote which says, any fool can start something, but no fool can maintain it. Right?
Hmm.
So starting is important and it's huge, and I commend you. But just know that starting is really just that. It's a start. So if I were to give you the best piece of advice, it would be to take where you are and begin a wholehearted and honest and a true assessment of two things. Number one, where am I right now? And number two, what do I actually want? Right? Is this really where I should be representing? Because I can tell you, I started many things. And I started them because I heard something or it was hot or an idea or something, but it wasn't really where I can really represent well and where I can shine. And it really wasn't where my heart was. And I'll tell you why that's so important. Because resistance is a normal part of life. You don't build muscle without resistance. So life is going to test you, not to defeat you, but to ensure that you are the best that you can be. And if that idea, if that business, if that whatever it is that you're doing, if it's a book you're writing, if it is a project you're launching, and you're not committed to it, and you don't know where you are and kind of where you need to get to, then I guarantee you, when resistance comes, the likelihood of success for you will be less. So that would be my best advice. Like, really think about, where am I now? Is this where I want to represent? Is this what I want to be? And think about that honestly. And then once you can know where you're starting, where am I right now, and where do I want to go, then it's really much simpler to fill in the gaps in between.
Yeah. It makes so much sense too, because a lot of people, that are working, especially, in the workday world, as you're in Connecticut, I'm in New Jersey, a lot of people around us are, working 9 to 5 and they're just so not passionate. Some people are, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of people who are not passionate about what they do and how they do it, what they should do. And I guess with people who are in a business, how could you find your calling? How can someone find their passion? Like, how do you know if it's your passion?
Yeah, yeah, no, no, that's a great question, and I don't want to give any cliches on that because I think, I really do. I think that is probably the most important thing, right? There's a difference between, the job that you have and your actual work and your actual calling, and the way that I knew my calling is because it always comes back. No matter what other distractions I veer off on, it always comes back center. And somehow, whether it's life, whether it's situations, whether it's circumstances, always point me back to that. So when you look at yourself, what are you really passionate about? And what keeps coming back to you? And sometimes it's simple. A lot of times we overcomplicate things. We're looking for this big fancy thing, and it may just not be that. Just think about the idea that Coca-Cola is effectively sugar water, and that's $1 billion company, right? It doesn't have to be the most complex or the most fanciful thing. It just needs to be the thing that keeps coming back to you, that you have passion about, that you know you can commit to, and that you know you can win at. That's really, really important.
Interesting. Yeah, it's such a, I always find that, when people are working or they're just, like you mentioned, you keep coming back to, it. And I find that such a very valuable tool because, people want to do something they like. They don't want to do something they don't like. You know what I mean? So it's like, it really boils down to how you like the thing and do you like doing it, and could you, and so I forget who told this to me, but it's actually when you look at work, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like fun, something fun you do. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, that's also what we look at as well.
Well, don't get me wrong. Everything takes work. The only thing that doesn't take work or effort is death. I don't mean to be morbid, but I mean, you don't have to do anything to die. Like you just have to lie on the floor. And believe me, death will visit you.
Yeah.
But if you want to get to the top of that mountain, you can't sort of meander your way to the top of the mountain or float your way to the top of the mountain. When last I checked, we're not full of helium. Like we don't just rise organically with no effort. And I don't mean to say that effort is the only element. What I mean to say is that in everything, if you want a great relationship with your spouse or significant other, believe me when I tell you it takes work. It doesn't happen organically. It
Mm.
really takes some work. If you want to have great relationships with your kids, it takes work. If you want to build a business, it takes work. Now,
Right.
when I say work, I don't mean that you're killing yourself, there's no joy, and it just feels like always a grind. But I will tell you, there's some ancient wisdom in the four seasons, right? Winter will come, but it doesn't last forever, right? And right behind winter comes spring. So if you think about it, some of those toughest times, some of those toughest work feelings that you have, sometimes you need to just push through it.